All right, y'all, we back with another reaction. This one right here is called Teen Killer Turns Math Class into a Massacre. That's a crazy title, man. Teen Killer Turns Math Class into a Massacre. Let's see what happened. What made this teen snap and take out his whole class, man? Let's see what's going on.
He was wearing a black cowboy hat, black jeans, a black shirt, a black coat.
It's like I pictured myself doing it or something and never really pictured myself doing anything else.
She was screaming, "Why did you shoot me? My arm, I can't feel my arm." He called us by name, set us in the back 2 rows, and to do what he asked, and nobody else would get shot.
I was going to be the hostage and come over, I'm going to put the gun in your mouth.
There was a guy in the first row, and he got up and was holding his chest and walked clear across the room and finally fell.
In Moses Lake, Washington on February 2nd, 1996, a 14-year-old student barged into his classroom fully armed, opening fire on his teacher and several students before holding his remaining classmates hostage.
Damn.
In the aftermath, the shooter's eerie resemblance to a fictional killer sparked a chilling question. Was this a calculated act of revenge or a twisted attempt to bring a deadly fantasy to life?
It didn't seem like he had any real reason of doing this besides just to do something. He kept saying this is a lot better than algebra.
The following report is based on official police
that's
records,
some
and the
dark
footage
shit.
has never been seen before until now. On the afternoon of February 2nd, 1996, detectives with the Moses Lake Police Department arrive at Frontier Junior High School, where a vicious attack played out just a few hours earlier in Mrs. Kyrus's algebra class.
Frontier Junior High. I'm standing at the southwest corner of the building next to the cafeteria. I will be walking towards the door of the building, the cafeteria area, and down the center hallway towards room 15. This is room number 15, the area where the incident took place.
Still reeling from a tragedy that would claim multiple lives, 2 survivors of the harrowing ordeal begin to share their accounts of what happened inside the classroom.
Could you tell me what period it was?
It was 5th period, but our schedules were messed up, so it wasn't a normal 5th period time.
Because of the bad winter we're having here?
Because it's a 2-hour delay.
Okay, and what's the first thing that you noticed?
Just the loud shots is what got my attention because I was trying to do my algebra, and the loud shots, my ears were ringing. And I turned my head and I looked towards the direction of the shots, or the loud noises, and I realized then that they were shots and that people were hurt because there were people, it just scattered, and they were holding their chests and there was blood.
Okay, it was pretty panicky in there?
Yes.
Okay. When
Hold on, something just crossed my mental right now. I'm like, you know what? Me personally, per se, I've never heard about school shootings until Columbine. Me personally, maybe because I was young at the time, and because Columbine was 1999, and that was like the first time I heard of something like that. Like, oh shit, you know what I mean? Somebody getting shot at school. This is 1996, so this happened. So if they did air this on the news, I don't remember seeing this ever. That was shit. I was young as hell, but that's crazy. I want to look and see how long have school shootings been happening. Because I just raised that question in my head, like, how long has school shootings been happening? I want to look that up. That might be a Pun Solved Mysteries. I might have to bring back Pun Solved Mysteries and do a research on school shootings and how long and how many were televised, when did they start being televised. That's a good one. All right, let's keep going.
When that happened from a person that was in the class or that it entered from the outside?
They entered from the outside.
Did he say anything when he was shooting?
Not while he was shooting.
Okay, but later I take it he must have said some
He
things.
was yelling, "Get down."
The shooter would later be identified as 14-year-old Barry Lukaitis. Although most teachers acknowledged that he was somewhat asocial, they described him as highly intelligent, a model student, and a pleasure to have in class. The warning signs they missed would only come in hindsight. John Lane, a PE teacher, explains what happened next after the first shots rang out.
I was teaching room number 13, which is the room right next to the cafeteria. I heard some loud explosions, was unable to determine what they were. I left my classroom at that time, went out in the hall, and tried to investigate.
When you first heard them, I mean, how many did it sound like?
There were several. I had 3 or 4, I guess. Again, I was so unaware, and I thought I didn't know what had exploded to cause that. Didn't suspect a gun, of course. As I was walking down the hallway, I heard some screaming, some kids screaming. I didn't know what had happened. I saw the door was closed. As I got there, I pushed open the door and saw the kids in various states on the floor. There were some in the desks. And as soon as I walked in the door, I noticed directly to my right in the corner, someone standing there, very erect, and I detected a gun right away. As soon as I hit the deck and slid around there, I saw Mrs. Kyrus lying up against the front of the room and very ashen gray. Apparently, she looked dead to me at that time.
Oh, damn.
The classroom's teacher, 49-year-old Leona Lee Kyrus, still grasped a marker and eraser in each hand as she lay unmoving on the floor. Several students were also shot, but Mr. Lane had yet to realize how many or how badly they were injured when he dove behind the teacher's desk for cover.
What was he doing at that time?
He was standing there with the gun, and like I say, I didn't take too long to look at him. I just noticed that there was a gun and there was someone standing there. He was dressed in dark colors.
He was wearing a black cowboy hat, black jeans, a black shirt, a black coat. It was a real long duster coat, black boots.
Dressed all in black?
Yes.
A witness would later describe seeing Barry as he walked toward the school earlier that.
Hey, this is kind of crazy when you think about it. Like, I don't remember this being aired. Am I tripping? Do y'all remember this? Do any of y'all remember seeing this on the news? Or I know some of y'all young. Don't answer that if y'all like. I know. Here come the jokes. Here come the old head jokes. Hey, but look, to the niggas that's from my demographic. Do y'all remember, from my age group, do y'all remember seeing this on the news ever? Because it's like, okay, he wore all black. Because I'm like, damn, you know, in the Columbine shit, I'm like, was they inspired by this? Because it was 3 years later. And remember, they had the black trench coats. They came in the black trench coats. I wonder if this inspired Columbine.
That morning, his black attire a sharp contrast to the white snow. He described him as a tin soldier, walking with stiff legs and keeping his arms tight to his body. Just 3 days before the attack, his mother was with him as he purchased the long trench coat that would later conceal the guns he carried.
Could you see him with a gun?
Oh, there it is. The trench coats. That's what Columbine, trench coat mafia. They had the black trench coats and they came with the guns to school. This is definitely some copycat shit. I'm like, everything they doing right now is basically like Columbine. But I mean, this young kid, he's 14 years old though. And 3 years later, Columbine do it with 2 guys wearing trench coats walking into the school. Definitely inspired by this, for sure.
Yes.
Okay. And realizing that, and maybe I'm wrong here, that you're probably not real familiar with guns, was this a long firearm? Was this a short firearm?
It was a rifle. I've been hunting.
Okay. And I apologize for that. Didn't mean to insult your intelligence. That's great. It was a rifle.
Yes.
How many times did he shoot? Do you know?
Mrs. Carter, he shot Mrs. Carter's once.
One time.
He shot as many times as he hit. And I felt like he had shot before. He's handled a gun before.
Barry entered the classroom that day fully armed with his father's guns, a lever-action rifle and 2 holstered handguns, including a revolver and semi-automatic pistol.
Damn.
These are the 2 holsters and the boots taken from the suspect. The shells in the gun belt by the desk.
One student later compared his holsters to those worn by the protagonist in the film Natural Born Killers. Witnesses claimed it was one of Barry's favorite movies, with one recalling him saying it would be fun to go on a killing spree and get away with it. Just
inspired by the movie, man. God damn it. See, that'd be my catch when you're doing these movies, right? I mean, although you gotta let it go, you gotta let your creativity come out, these directors. They gotta let them, it's just when, this is what I was talking about when you highlight the serial killers in movies and shit. When you put that on people's radar who didn't know about these serial killers, the Zodiac killer. You know what I'm saying? and they see these movies and they love it so much that they get inspired to mimic it, to repeat it, to do it themselves. That'd be the only catch about the movies. And it's like, damn, be real life stories, man. But it's always somebody that get inspired by them motherfuckers, and they want to do the same thing. Hey, but look, I looked it up, y'all. The first documented school shooting in the United States occurred, guess when? November 2nd, guess when? 1853. School shooting started in 1853. How crazy is that? Let that sink in. Damn. I said I was going to research on how many school shootings, if they started in 1853, imagine how many school shootings it's been since 1853. Damn.
Like the characters in the movie, this unsettling connection to fictional killers would only deepen as investigators uncovered more details in the wake of the tragedy.
The guns laying on the desk. The first one appears to be a large caliber revolver. Correction, a large revolver, unknown caliber at this point.
4 days before the shooting, classmates recalled Barry asking if he could buy shotgun shells. When asked why, he eerily replied they would find out later. He told another classmate the shells were needed to kill 15 to 20 objects the size of a dog. He also questioned the power of a rifle compared to a shotgun.
30-30 with a live round in the chamber. Okay, can you show me the side of that, Paul? Is there a insignia on that? There it is.
It's a Winchester Model 94.
Yeah, just...
As Barry's classmate continued to recount her terror, she explained that Barry was no longer shooting, but still held the rifle in hand as Mr. Lane began talking to him.
He was asking, why did you do this and what does he want and does he want to talk about it, and for him to put the gun down and, just trying to persuade him that this was not the right thing to do.
Where were you? Were you on the floor?
Yes.
Okay. And there must have, was there other people on the floor at that time?
Everyone was on the floor.
Okay.
There was a guy in the first row, and he got up and was holding his chest and walked clear across the room and finally fell.
Could you see the suspect or Mr. Lane?
Yes, I was behind the chair, and there's slits in the chair, and from where I was sitting, I could see his face. He kept looking at him.
The suspect did? Okay. What was the suspect saying to Mr. Lane or to the rest of the class, if you know?
To be quiet and to do what he asked, and nobody else would get shot.
Meanwhile, reports of shots fired at the junior high school reached local authorities, who urgently made their way to the scene. Inside the classroom, Barry began making demands.
He kept saying, Mr. Lane, stand up. I'm not going to hurt anybody. Stand up. I'm not going to shoot anybody else. He did say at one time, if you don't stand up, I'm going to shoot somebody, though. He did say that.
Was that directed at you?
Yes. He said if I wouldn't stand up, he was going to shoot one of the students. He said that one time.
Okay.
So Mr. Lane was sacrificing the kids. He didn't want to stand his bitch ass up. Hey, man, stand your ass up. You a teacher or whatever the fuck you are. You know he ain't here to kill teachers, nigga. Why you making him kill all these damn kids, man? Get your ass up. Come get this bullet. Get the fuck out the... No, I'm messing with y'all. That's dark. That's dark. I'm sorry. Man, but the kids, man. Kids come first, man. Listen. Stall the kids out. Listen, you get your ass up. Don't make him kill another kid because you scared to stand up, man. God damn.
Did you in fact stand up?
I kept telling him I was too afraid to stand up, and I just couldn't do it. I just wasn't.
See, I knew it. He was being a hoe ass nigga. He was about to get a kid sacrificed, bro. The nigga saying, hey, stand up, teacher, or I'm going to kill a student. And he just wouldn't stand up. So you're willing to sacrifice your students, nigga. You are cold, Mr. Lane.
Able to. During one time when I was laying down, the gun did go off one time, and he said, oh, that's an accident.
According to witnesses, the stray bullet struck the ceiling, and Barry apologized to the class.
These are possibly of rounds which appear to be in the ceiling area.
Teachers and students would recall a change in Barry in the months preceding the attack. He became more withdrawn, unfriendly, and had notable changes in his handwriting. One teacher said it seemed as though something was bothering him. Many of Barry's drawings and poems took on dark themes of murder and death. He began making alarming comments to people who would walk by, such as, "They don't deserve to live." Just 2 weeks before the shooting, a student overheard Barry say he would kill someone if they deserved it. Whether Barry deliberately chose his victims remained to be seen, but soon in the interrogation room, he would provide his own answer to this haunting question.
Hey, do Barry look like a school shooter to y'all? I mean, Hey, when you think of school shooter, in the comment section right now, chat. When you think of school shooter, what do you think of? What is the description of a school shooter? Let me hear it.
For now, Mr. Lane continued his account of what happened next.
I finally felt that I had to stand up and make something happen. He kept reassuring me that he wasn't going to shoot anybody, and wasn't going to shoot me, and wasn't going to hurt anybody.
What did he want at that point?
I didn't. He said several times that he was going to explain later on why he was there and why he did what he did, but he didn't explain why he had done what he had done. As soon as I got up, we tried again, of course, tried to get him to lay the gun down. He wouldn't do that, and at that time, I tried to direct his attention and my attention to the kids that were injured, and kind of surveying the scene. There was one student that was down, apparently dead. There was another student who kept saying that they were hurt. I'm going to pass out. I'm going to faint.
The girl, she was hurt. She was screaming, "Why did you shoot me? My arm, I can't feel my arm." And she said, "Can I go? You let me go get an ambulance." And he let her go. And there was another girl. She had diabetes or something. She had some kind of illness. He let her go.
As an officer finally arrived, he passed the shooting victim in the hallway, later identified as 13-year-old Natalie Hintz, telling her to run to the office where an ambulance would meet her. The girl who claimed to be struggling with diabetic issues came out next, and he urged her to get behind him. Mr. Kairos, the school principal, attempted to enter his wife's classroom, but was stopped as the officer explained he would only endanger the lives of the students inside. The officer called for more backup as the hostage situation inside the classroom grew more dire.
Did you remove? And the reason I'm asking, John, is at the breezeway there's an amount of blood that's outside the classroom. You helped the female with the hurt arm, and another person who apparently was not shot but had some diabetic problems was allowed to leave. Anybody else came outside?
Yeah, there's one other, and this was the student who, and I don't know who it was laying over in the far corner of the room away from Barry, having real difficulty breathing.
The one that walked across the room, he was laying on the floor and he was breathing. I mean, he'd take a really deep breath like every minute or so. I mean, it was a pretty long between. He was like groaning and he was not responsive.
So Mr. Lane helped get him out?
Mr. Lane and two other students.
And did Mr. Lane have to ask permission for that?
Yes.
And that permission was granted by the suspect?
Not at first, no.
Okay.
They asked if they could get him out, and the suspect, Barry, he asked, how close to death was he? And they said, pretty close. And at first he said, just let him lay there and die. What? Mr. Lane kept persuading me. They kept saying, please let us get this child out.
Wait, what? Oh, God. All right, let's talk about Mr. Lane, man. Mr. Lane, a lot of this shit could have been prevented if you would stood your bitch ass up. I don't know. Is it giving vibes? Okay, this is giving vibes of just a kid inspired by movies and just dark thoughts. Yeah, boom. Then there are school shootings where it's like, listen, I don't condone it at all. No way, no form. 100% don't condone school shootings. But when they be like, okay, somebody comes to school and they like shoot the bully or shoot a teacher they don't like, I'll be like, okay, I get it. That doesn't make it right, but I get that. You come in and shoot the bully or you come and shoot the teacher that be giving you a hard time. But when kids just come in schools and just shoot other kids for no reason, like kids that have done nothing to you or kids like, that's some mental shit. Like you just want to see death. You just want to see death because at this point you're just shooting whoever you see running, whoever you see walking, whoever you see. And it's like, that's just psychotic mentality right there.
He needs help. And then you finally let him go.
I went back there and he was laying in quite a pool of blood. I couldn't handle him by himself, so Barry let me take another student, try to help him. Still couldn't get out with another student, so we got a third student, and finally we were able to get that victim out of the classroom.
As backup arrived, the door flew open, and Mr. Lane, along with two other students, pulled 14-year-old Arnold Arnie Fritz into the hallway, where two officers carried him to an ambulance. Both Arnie and Natalie were transported to the hospital, where their lives would hang in the balance. Inside the classroom, two shooting victims, Mrs. Kairos and a young boy, lay motionless on the floor. With the remaining students still at gunpoint, Mr. Lane went back inside.
What is the suspect doing at this point?
Just standing in the corner, and what he said he was going to do, he was going to try to organize the room and get things done his way, and and I guess let things progress kind of. And at that time, this time of the incident, one of the police officers started hollering at him and called him by name and tried to get Barry to talk to him. And the basic response from Barry was, I'll talk to you in 10 minutes after I've organized things, and then I'll let you know what's going on.
What was he organizing, John?
Well, what he did, he had some of the kids move to the back of the classroom and sit in chairs in the back of the classroom.
We were all scattered around the room, and he called us by name and set us in the back 2 rows, going long ways across the back of the classroom.
One student would later tell investigators it seemed as though Barry was setting up a shooting gallery. As he continued calling their names, the police attempted to call Barry from the classroom phone. In response, he held it above his head and smashed it on the ground. With the phone broken, they tried other methods to reach Barry, but this only seemed to aggravate him further.
How were they communicating with him? Just yelling?
Yelling.
Was the door closed at this time?
Door was closed. In fact, it was slightly open, and he said to close the door. He didn't want it open. He also said, "You're pissing me off. I'm going to get this taken care of," something like that.
They were yelling his name, Barry, and Barry was yelling back, and he kept saying that if they didn't quit yelling, he was going to start shooting us again because they were making him mad. He kept saying this is a lot better than algebra and stuff like that.
What Barry demanded next was nothing short of horrifying, sending the encounter spiraling toward a tense climax.
Barry got a large Ziploc bag out of his pocket and a rubber band and put the bag over his gun and put the rubber band around it and told Mr. Lane to put the end of the barrel into his mouth because he needed somehow to get out.
And at that time he said, "Now we're going to take care of the hostage." And he said, "Mr. Lane, you're going to be the hostage."
Did in fact you go over to him when he said that?
I started to come to him, but again, earlier he had said, "Don't get too close," and so I wanted to maintain my distance because I didn't want to.
Oh, this nigga, Mr. Lane. Mr. Lane, every time it's a situation where the student is saying, "Come to me," I get it. Nobody wants to die, man. But when you are a teacher, you kind of gotta I gotta put my life on the line for these students. I mean, you're the adult. These parents are trusting their kids with you. And if he's saying, "Hey, I don't want to kill no students," teacher, you come here and you won't get up, that's kind of fucked up. I get it. You don't want to die, but that's fucked up. And I know it's going to be FTK, fuck them kids, but that's kind of your responsibility. That is your responsibility. Like, I would hope that my kid's teacher would step up, which, I mean, probably won't, but I would hope they would if it had to be between my kids or and a teacher. Like, come on, man. Damn.
I panicked him. Sure. And then when he said I was going to be a hostage, and I came up to him a little bit, I was probably 3 to 4 feet away from him, and I said, "Barry, I don't want to do this. I'm too afraid." I didn't want to do it.
Sure. What did he do then, John?
Well, I guess that's when it came to conclusion. I felt that I had to do something.
Mr. Lane stood up and walked over towards him, got kind of close, and Barry kept saying, back up. And Mr. Lane would back up a little bit. And then the next thing I knew, Mr. Lane had him up against the wall.
The weapon was a little bit higher and in front of him, so I kind of pinned that. I wanted to make sure that the hand wouldn't on the trigger. If it would have gone off, it would have gone into the ceiling, which I wasn't too concerned about, but I wanted it pointed up. I wanted it away from the kids, and I thought I could. And he really didn't offer all that much resistance. I'm sure my adrenaline was going too, but I thought I could take him.
He had the gun in one hand up against the wall, and they were struggling, and he was yelling for us to run out, to get out of the classroom.
Mr. Lane was?
All right, there you go, Mr. Lane. There you go, Mr. Lane. Mr. Lane said it's a method to my madness. I'm going to play like I'm a bitch, and then I'm going to get close, and I'm going to grab the gun and free the kids. Okay, Mr. Lane. You had me nervous here, brother. I'm like, come on, don't sacrifice the kids, bro.
Yes.
So Mr. Lane is the one that resolved this. He's the one that helped everybody. How long did this whole thing take place?
It was fairly quick, actually. It was about 5 or 10 minutes.
All right.
That this whole thing.
When Mr. Lane pinned him up against the wall, what happened next?
I stood up from the shelf that was there, and Mr. Lane was yelling, "Run!" and just everybody ran out. I think I was the second or third person to get out.
Students began pouring out of the classroom, and 4 officers rushed inside to witness the struggle between Mr. Lane and Barry over possession of the rifle. They quickly jumped in to help, disarming the suspect. With Barry finally in custody, they would soon be able to question the killer himself. As he was taken away, one officer raced to aid Mrs. Kyrus and the other fallen student, but he noted in his report that it was clear any efforts to resuscitate them would be useless. Before they turned to Barry, Mr. Lane and the young classmate shared their final thoughts.
It didn't seem like he had any real reason of doing this besides just to do something.
It was my impression that Barry is one of those kids that the forgotten kid who was just a little strange, and quite frankly, it doesn't surprise me that he snapped.
As news of the shooting spread, a detective from the Seattle Police Department reached out to investigators, noting eerie similarities between the attack and a well-known book, an unsettling connection that will later be explored. With a classmate and teacher pronounced dead, as well as 2 injured students at the hospital, Barry was brought to the police station, determined to uncover what drove him to commit the brutal attack. Sergeant Ruffin with the Moses Lake Police Department began to question Barry.
Barry, how old are you?
14.
Okay, so have you ever been in any trouble before at all? For anything, just anything minor?
I got detention once when I was a
Just minor stuff. Barry, I tell you what I'd like to do is that...
Have my parents been notified?
Barry, I don't know. I'm not sure who your parents are. Have you called them?
No.
Okay, maybe that's something we can do here in a minute.
What Barry didn't know was that his mother entered the police station less than an hour before his interview began. Court documents argued Sergeant Ruffin knew full well Barry's mother was in a waiting room as he continued to question Barry without an adult present.
What I want to do, Barry, is that I need for you to explain yourself, because if you don't, you're not going to get another chance to explain yourself. Once I leave today, that's it. I mean, because basically, then I've got to go do all that other stuff.
Explain what I did?
Well, I mean, where you coming from on this, buddy?
Oh, why?
Yeah, but to do that, I need to get the paperwork done, okay? And that's why we got to sit down for a couple minutes and just do paperwork, okay? Is that okay with you?
How long does it take?
Not very long at all.
Would I be able to...
How long is this going to take? Bruh. This nigga say, how long is this going to take? Nigga, Barry tripping. All right, Barry, listen, man. The cop is out of pocket. If that nigga mama, he's still a mom. He's still a juvenile, so his you got to have his parents there or somebody adult. You can't be questioning this nigga because he's 14 years old, man. He can say anything. He can be swayed. He can be persuaded to say shit. That's what they are using in court. So, yeah. Where's the mama at, bruh?
have anybody else here besides the
Well,
lawyer?
who else would you like to have?
My parents,
Maybe. If you want to do that.
I at least want to talk to them.
Okay, if you want to do that, why don't we do that, and I'll see if I can get your parents here, okay?
After being read his Miranda rights, Barry formally acknowledged and waived them with his signature. Sergeant Ruffin continued questioning him about the incident.
Were you in school at all today? You didn't go?
No.
What happened after you went inside?
I don't know. I guess reflex took over, sort of. I don't know. It's like I pictured myself doing it or something and never really pictured myself doing anything else.
Okay. Have you drank anything today? Any alcohol?
I don't drink.
Okay, good.
I don't do drugs and I do not smoke.
Okay. I don't think what I'm hearing is all true. And now those people up there that were injured, did those people do something to you?
What have you been told?
Well, I spent some time up there at the scene there, and I understand that you were pretty angry. And were you angry up there with those people?
No.
Not at all? Okay. Did you know any of those people that were injured?
No. I knew who they were.
You didn't, I mean, not personally, right? Okay.
One of them, but...
Which person did you know up there, Barry?
First one I shot.
Barry's first victim was the male student who died at the scene, 14-year-old Manuel Vela Jr. According to witnesses, Manuel had teased him in the past, calling him names. This prompted threats from Barry, who was overheard whispering, "Do you treasure your life?" One classmate...
Oh, there we go. There we go. The bully. The bully, he had intentions on killing. That's why he shot him first. Everything else was just once shit got to going, motherfuckers got to yelling, got to screaming, got to panicking. That's when everything else probably transpired. But he definitely had his sights on who he was coming there first and who he was coming to walk in that room shooting first. It was the bully. And after that happened, he probably just said, fuck it, the teacher was yelling, he shot her. Bam! Shut your ass up. Bam! And a kid yelling, ow! Bam! Like, it just took over at that point. Damn.
Mate once heard Barry say, "Someday people are going to regret teasing me." It's important to note that these claims come from witness accounts, but there is no verifiable evidence to support that Manuel ever teased Barry.
Did you know the teacher? That's your class, right?
I didn't know her personally, but yeah.
Okay, is she your math teacher? I'm sorry, is that a yes?
Yeah.
Yes. And do you know her name for me?
Not her first name.
Okay, her last name by chance?
Kairos.
Okay.
Mrs. Kairos.
Did Mrs. Kairos do anything to you?
No.
However, witness statements suggest he may have harbored negative feelings for his teacher. Weeks before the shooting, Barry supposedly complained about her teaching methods, with one teacher saying the two had a personality conflict. One witness stated Mrs. Kairos gave him detention a week before the incident, after Barry put paper in the classroom heater. Another recalled Barry stating he wanted to kill Mrs. Kairos because she told him he had a wrong answer in class.
Okay, now the other people that got hit, were those accidentals, or were you trying to hit them, or that was just kind of crazy then?
That was kind of crazy. It might have been deliberate.
So the only two deliberate ones,
I believe it was deliberate.
The only two positively deliberate ones would be me.
The only positive deliberate one would be me.
A search warrant was executed.
Well, see, there you go. The positive one that he for sure wanted was the bully. And then they said the only time he's been in trouble in the beginning of the interrogation, he said, was detention. That's the only time he ever been in trouble. Who put him in detention? Miss Kairos. So, yeah, it's given that bam, bam was it. The other two, that just was spiraling out of control.
Executed on Barry's house in the days following the attack. In his room, they find the book earlier mentioned by the Seattle detective. The novel, titled Rage, was published in 1977 by Stephen King under the pseudonym Richard Bachman. In a twisted parallel to real-life events, the book tells the story of a student who fatally shoots his algebra teacher, taking his classmates hostage and threatening to kill them should they fail to comply with his demands.
Whoa.
According to the Stephen King website, the book was later removed from print due to the sensitive nature of its content. Another notable book among Barry's collection is Gunslinger, the first volume in the Dark Tower series. The novel contains Western themes, with the main protagonist often depicted as wearing a trench coat and cowboy hat, wielding guns similar to those Barry used during his attack. Though Barry never admitted in his interview whether he drew inspiration from his favorite movies or books, his actions and the eerie parallels to the fictional killers are impossible to ignore.
I need to ask. Okay, what am I going to do after I'm out of here? Are they going to go back to the cell or what? Or they need to ask me some more questions?
Well, I think if you and I can clear this up, I mean, why is there somebody in particular you wanted to do or somebody you want to talk to?
Well, I would at least let my parents know what's going on, but I don't know if I want them here.
Sure. And I give you my promise on the deal here. If you want your parents here right now, I will get your parents.
Yeah, no, okay. But I don't.
All right.
At this point in the interview, Sergeant Ruffin was interrupted by another officer and briefly left the room. When he returned, he had news to share with Barry.
We have a little technicality here. Here's what this is that your mom apparently, and I haven't seen your mom, I don't even know if your mom's here, but apparently she called a lawyer, and the lawyer called down here, and the lawyer said that he wants me to stop talking to you. What are your feelings about that?
Well, I think it should be my business, but of course it's my mother.
Okay, all right. So what I'm going to do is, out of honor, I guess, for your mother and also the lawyer at this time, I'm going to stop the statement.
With that, the interview reached an end. An autopsy report would later determine that 49-year-old Leona Lee Kairos and 14-year-old Manuel Vela Jr. each died from single gunshot wounds. As for the two victims who went to the hospital following the attack, 14-year-old Arnold Arnie Fritz died shortly after his arrival. 13-year-old Natalie Hintz ultimately survived after undergoing extensive surgery and nearly losing her arm. Barry was arrested and booked into the Grant County Youth Center. A motion was filed for a psychological evaluation to determine whether or not mental illness played a factor in the attack. It would later be revealed that during the winter months when Barry became noticeably withdrawn, his parents were experiencing marital issues, with his mother filing for divorce just 1 month before the attack. While multiple doctors agreed that Barry was experiencing depression, there was disagreement as to the extent. Barry's lawyers later filed a motion to suppress the statements made to Sergeant Ruffin during his interrogation, arguing that the sergeant had violated his rights. However, the trial court denied the motion, ruling that Washington law does not require parental consent when a juvenile waives their rights. From August 15th to September 24th, 1997, Barry Lukaitis stood trial in court as an adult and was found guilty of 2 counts of first-degree aggravated murder, 1 count of second-degree murder, 1 count of assault in the first degree, 1 count of assault in the second degree, and 16 counts of kidnapping, each with a firearm enhancement. He was ordered to serve 2 consecutive life sentences without without the possibility of parole. According to news outlets in 2017, due to the Supreme Court ruling of 2012 that juveniles younger than 16 cannot be sentenced to life without parole, Barry Lukaitis was resentenced to a total of 189 years in prison.
All right, man. Yeah, Barry, you're going to rot in prison for what you did, brother. You made a stupid decision, man. You went in there, you did some dumb shit, especially at that time. That 1996, you going in there killing kids and doing all that. They getting your ass out the paint, brother. You know what I mean? Hey, he sounded like he knew what he was going to do. He knew what he wanted to do. They were saying he was at school saying he deserves to die. This person deserves to die. Hey, man, sound like a little psycho kid. And what's crazy, like, I remember in high school, like, we had kids that we thought, you know, would come and do some shit. You would just look at them. It's like, you don't really know if they would, but you would just be like, hey, this is a motherfucker look like he'd do some shit one day. You know the little psycho, like, what we used to call them gothic kids. The little gothic kids be walking around with scratches and cuts on their wrist and cuts on their arm with knives and dressing all crazy and looking crazy. But you never know the day when they actually say fuck it and go ahead and do it. But damn, rest in peace to those children who lost their lives that day and the woman who lost their life. And Mr. Lane, you was a bitch, but then you cleaned yourself up. You was acting like a bitch though. If a nigga like, come on, you a teacher, and a student say, the student with the gun say, hey, teacher, stand up so I can off you. And if not, I'm gonna kill one of these students. You supposed to stand up. Why? Because let's say he kills a student, boom, and then he gets took down, whatever, boom. You have to live with that. And then the school, everybody gonna look at you crazy. You gotta live with that. You probably won't give a fuck though, because you still got your life. In the end, you won't give a fuck, but you will. Yeah, that's a sticky situation, man. But I think if you're gonna be a teacher, like, you gotta be willing to put your life on the line for these kids. I know people gonna be like, oh, I ain't got nothing to do with putting your life on the line, but you building a bond with these kids, and I mean, at the end of the day, they're kids, man. I'll put my life on the line if I'm watching these kids every day and I got a bond with them. I'll put my life on the line for that shit, for sure. You know what I mean? Like, fuck that. They still got a lot of life to live, man. You know what I mean? I done did it up already. But yeah, man, let me know what y'all think in the comment section, man. Go ahead and flood that thing. Make sure y'all smash the like button. Keep the algorithm going on these. Let's get these ABP reactions going crazy, man. Appreciate all y'all for going crazy on the other reactions, man. So let's keep it going, man. Till next time, get ready for this next reaction.